Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the informational webinar for Emeritus and MIT's Mastering Design Thinking course. And it looks like folks are joining us, just looking at the participants there. A quick note for those of you who maybe have not used this platform before, if you want to open up your chat window, you can find a More button there, I believe, or at the bottom there's a chat button. Looks like Chris has already found that. So if you could open that up, and down at the bottom, there's a blue bar that says all panelists and attendees. Make sure you change that. Actually, it comes up as all panelists. Make sure you change that to all panelists and attendees. All right. And if you could go ahead and type where you're from in there. It looks like a lot of you have found it. Some of you are typing in just to the panelists. All right, great. Lots of folks joining us. Let us know where you're from. Fargo, North Dakota. I'll bet it is nice and warm there, Jeff. Chicago, Atlanta, Milan, Denmark. Nina, welcome. Make sure, by the way, I'll repeat it one more time. Make sure that you have that blue bar. Make sure that says all panelists and attendees. Welcome to the informational webinar. My name is Brian Cooperrider. I have Lauren and Isabella here with me today. And we are going to get moving in just a moment here. I do want to make sure you guys understand a few things. The chat window, we'll be using that to kind of ask questions, share thoughts, get feedback from all of you. There's also a Q&A window. And in fact, if you can find that Q&A button, you can type in questions there, and those questions are saved. So we'll get to those. We have 15 minutes at the end of this short informational webinar to answer questions. So we'll get to all of those questions as well. So put your questions in the Q&A and our chat in the chat. All right, let's get started. Serbia, New York, Colombia. Wow, got a great collection of people here today. All right. So what are we going to do today? We're going to start with an icebreaker. I'm going to show you guys a short video here. And it's about 60 seconds long. And I would like in that video for you to just use your eyes and ears and do some observations. This is a little sample of what we do in the course. We head out there and we look for needs that are unfulfilled. So we're going to start with this video. We move forward here. If you'll bear with me, this is the hard part of the course, which is all the technical part of sharing technology. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me go back one more time here. I forgot to optimize this for. All right, here we go. So sit back, watch this video for just one moment, and we'll talk about it in a second. But make sure you record your observations, and you can type those in the chat if you'd like, or you can hang on to them. But we're looking really at what's going on here, what's happening. All right.
Yeah, I'm headed there now. Okay, on my way. Good.
You're good?
Yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah.
All right.
That's why you don't talk on the phone when you're.
All right. So what happened there? What did you guys see? If you could just type in the chat your observations. Oh, hopefully everybody got to see the video. It looks like Sanjay had trouble seeing it there. He was using a phone while cycling. That's correct. No bike lane. Good observation, Anne. He had a yellow t-shirt. He was going fast on the phone. A preoccupied person. Seemed to be in a hurry. Missed people coming his way. Great observations, everyone. There was too much traffic. So good question, Gerby. Was he a delivery guy? Everybody make sure, by the way, that that blue bar down there in the chat says all panelists and attendees. If it says all panelists, then only the panelists will be able to see that. There was an accident. So what other things were around him? Where was he riding? He was biking in the wrong lane. Could have been taking place in San Francisco. It was in a city. Good observation, both from Phoebe and Keith. Biking between cars, unsafe. Any thoughts about what he was doing other than biking? And now we're, of course, kind of, we're guessing. We don't know exactly what he's doing. He wasn't paying attention to his surroundings. Ophir says he was a bike messenger. I like the fact that he was talking on his phone. I like the fact that when he crashed, the phone was still recording on the ground next to him. is using a phone while biking. Absolutely. So one of the things that we do here is that we go out and we do observations. So we find an area that might have a need or something of interest. So this is, of course, a bike courier or a bike messenger in a large city. And you could go out and follow one of these people and observe some of the problems they have, some of the issues that aren't addressed. And this is what one of our teams did. They went out and spent some time with a bike messenger and looked at the needs that were unfulfilled. And what they discovered was there's certain things that might be helpful for a bike messenger, maybe turn-by-turn instructions. So that way you don't have to talk on your phone. Hands-free control, low distraction, lots going on in a city. Ignoring auto traffic is something that's really hard to do and possibly a need as well. Maybe something that's off-road. And of course, the usual things of low cost and durable. So this is an example of a team that went out and explored just this particular situation. And here's some examples of their sketches. It's a team that called their product Blinky. And so you can see that they went out and did some, and this is of course a product. Many people do services in this class, but this is an example of a product. And in fact, here's what they came up with. Blinky, a turn-by-turn navigation for bikes in a blink. So we go out and we look for opportunities, and then we take those opportunities and explore them, find needs, and then turn those into solutions. And that, in a nutshell, is what we'll be doing in this course. Here's an example from one of their slides in their final presentation that shows all of the features of this particular device that they developed. So that's what we'll be doing here in this course if you choose to join us. I would like to turn this over right now to Lauren. I think, Lauren, you're gonna, maybe I'll introduce the speakers real quick, and then Lauren will talk a little bit about the agenda. So Lauren Hogg is with us here today, and Isabella DeMambro, and I'm gonna let them tell you a little bit about themselves and what they do, and I'll introduce myself and give you some background about me a little bit later on. Lauren?
Excellent. Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Hogg. I'm one of the program managers here at MIT Executive Education. Just going to talk through the session agenda for today very quickly. We are going to go through the learning outcomes for this course. We're going to talk more about what mastering design thinking is, go through assignments and key dates, and then we're going to finish up with a question and answer time. You'll see the question and answer location is separate than the chat at the bottom of your Zoom window, but we'll discuss that again later. Mainly program objectives and outcomes and takeaways from this. Upon completion of this course, you will understand how to use the design thinking process to generate and evaluate new product and service concepts based on customer needs. Use the real win-worth framework to evaluate new product and service concepts. Implement a proven method to plan and execute a prototype. Select a product architecture and evaluate the economics of product development, and then finally design products and services with sustainability in mind. So that is what you can expect while taking this course. I'll pass over to Bella to kind of talk through more of what is design thinking.
Great, thanks so much, Lauren. Just want to make sure you can all hear me okay. Let me know in the chat if you can't. But welcome everyone to our informational webinar. We're so glad you could join us today. Before we go too much further, I wanted to quickly touch base on what design thinking actually is. I think most of us have at least a vague understanding of what it is. We wouldn't be here today if we didn't. But to put a more precise definition to it, design thinking is a powerful process of problem solving that begins with understanding unmet customer needs. From that insight emerges a process for innovation that encompasses concept development, applied creativity, prototyping, and experimentation. When design thinking approaches are applied to business, the success rate for innovation improves substantially. So now that we have a working definition of what design thinking is, let's talk about why this program might be a good fit for you. From this toolkit, from this program, you'll take away a toolkit to bolster your own creativity and influence your organization. You will learn a new skill set, plus the confidence to take this back and implement it in your own work. And let me stress this is not just for Fortune 500 companies. Design thinking can be powerfully applied to organizations and projects of all sizes. This program is for individuals and teams who want to learn a proven, systematic approach to developing new products and services. Business thrives on innovation, and the Mastering Design Thinking program will help you create products and services that are desirable, feasible, sustainable, and viable. So I mentioned 4, but mainly 3 key dimensions, which are the backbone of this program. So I want to dive into those a little bit more. The first, desirability. This is there a customer need for my product? Are we solving a real problem? What are we helping our customers complete? What are they trying to do, and why is it important for them? Number 2, feasibility. Can I actually create the product I envision? How can we build on the strengths of our current operational capabilities, looking internally and objectively to assess our strengths, either individually or as an organization? And how can we build the solution to make our business stronger? And finally, viability. Is it a profitable solution with a sustainable business model, right? Does our solution contribute to long-term growth? Will customers want to use and pay for our solution? If your product or service is lacking any one of these dimensions, your success is at risk. In Mastering Design Thinking, we'll teach you how to design with these 3 key dimensions in mind. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Lauren to tell us a little bit more about the fantastic MIT faculty who will be guiding us on this learning journey.
Wonderful. So first on our list of faculty members, we have Steve Eppinger. He is a General Motors leader for Global Operations Professor, a Professor of Management Science and Engineering Systems, and the co-director of the Systems Design and Management program at the MIT Sloan School of Management. Next up, we have Renee Gosling, is a senior lecturer in the Management Science group at the MIT Sloan School of Management. She has been named one of the world's top 40 professors under 40 by Poets and Quaint. Matthew Cressy is director and founder of the MIT Integrated Design and Management, also known as IDM, master's degree track. He's an expert in product design and development, as an entrepreneur and founder of Designington, and a principal research scientist at MIT's initiative on the digital economy. David Robertson, our final MIT faculty, is a senior lecturer at the MIT Sloan School of Management, where he teaches product development and digital product management. Next up, we have our facilitators. So Brian will help walk us through those.
Thanks, Lauren. So you'll have 3 facilitators, of which I'm one, so you've already met me. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I have a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in engineering from Stanford and a master's degree in product design. So I studied at Stanford pre-D School. Lots of people are familiar with the D School, but the D School evolved out of the product design program. So my connections are very much on the West Coast with the Stanford Design Thinking. And Jerome Arul has a degree from the Rhode Island School of Design and is currently at MIT working with Steve Eppinger. I think he's Isabel was telling me he is doing some guest lecturing and helping out with some of the faculty there. And Jin Wu is also at MIT getting her master's degree there as well. So we'll be your learning facilitators, and we are always here to help out, to help explain things, to help you work through a lot of the different ideas and concepts presented by the faculty. All right, with that, I think I'm going to turn it back to Isabella, who will talk about the design thinking experience.
Great, thanks, Brian. So I will dive into a little bit both the design thinking experience that you'll get within this program, but then also more generally our motto here at MIT, which is mens et manus, or mind in hand. Here at MIT, our teaching and research philosophy is practical application to put into practice what we're learning and researching. MIT believes in generating new ideas and building them to improve lives around the world. That is what sets our programs apart. During our programs, and certainly in Mastering Design Thinking, you will actually roll up your sleeves and do what you learn. Each week, you will work through your module and then go back to your organization or your personal projects and apply what you have learned. You'll come back to class the following week to compare notes with classmates and to engage on what worked and what you might do differently. You'll have another opportunity each week to apply new learnings and build on foundations created in each module. Emeritus has created an experience with this program that brings energy, engagement, and excitement. This program is interactive with the right amount of engagement among faculty, your learning facilitators, and your peer learners. all while maintaining the rigor and feel of what you would expect from attending one of our MIT Sloan executive education programs. You have a globally connected classroom where 2/3 of the learning time is devoted to hands-on practical application of the concepts you're learning, working through these concepts in collaborative teams or learning circles. You really do learn from one another in this program. There is just a breadth of experience and knowledge to be gained from your co-learners. So we really encourage you, if you do sign up for this program, to leverage that, really get to know and have conversations in the discussion forums with your co-learners. At this point, I'd like to hand the mic back over to Brian, who will talk through the applied learning and team aspects of the program in a little bit more depth.
Thanks, Isabella. Just advancing the slides there, multitasking. All right, so let me step you through what the class actually goes on in the class. And I want to actually stress what Isabella said earlier, is that this isn't really, it's not just for Fortune 500 folks. This design thinking process, we really want to get that thinking process into your head. And in many ways, it's simply a problem solving methodology. And that is something that you can apply to anything and anywhere. So whether that's your own personal projects, whether that's working in small businesses, working with nonprofits, or working on big, innovative Fortune 500 companies, it's a useful process that really can be implemented by anyone. And I think there were some questions about that in the Q&A that we can kind of get to a little bit later as well. So this is what goes on in the class. You join the course. The first thing we do is kind of get you oriented and have you self-select into teams. And that's important because we know you're all over the world. And the biggest challenge, of course, is connecting with people who are not in your time zone. And we have ways to take care of that. We want to make sure that people are able to participate in the course and that it's not 2 in the morning for them. We then present ideas. You can discuss those with a team, and you're looking for an idea that you want to pursue or an opportunity that you want to pursue for the remainder of the course. So that's selecting that one idea for the capstone project. I want to also emphasize here that design is an iterative process. It's a cycle, and often people will cycle back and change that idea, tweak it just a little bit to make it something a little bit more specific for their final capstone project. Teams meet weekly to complete their group assignments. And there's also individual assignments that are done, of course, not in your group. And then finally, there's that delivery of the capstone project, which for the previous run, we're doing tomorrow. And you'll do that within the context of the Real Win Worth It framework that Professor Eppinger presents during the course. Just a little graphic here kind of showing the learning journey. There's 10 modules in the course. We kind of start with, I'm not going to read through all of these, excuse me, but it gives you a little bit of idea of what we cover in the course. Learning the concepts that really drive that design thinking, submitting your ideas, identifying customer needs and user groups. And this is the important part that we step you through, is how do you convert that opportunity into an actionable idea that you can pursue. And then there's a lot of content that kind of surrounds this course as well, building out product architecture, analyzing economics, creating a prototype. We don't actually create a prototype in this course because it's a little bit beyond the scope of what we're doing here, but we step you through how you would actually do that and encourage you in some areas to do things like wireframes or low-level prototypes that might be pertinent for your particular project. All right, and you do have an opportunity to present your ideas and get real-time feedback. And let's talk about that for just a moment here. This is a little bit of all the content, all the pieces that fit into this MIT or this Emeritus MIT course. There's 128 video lectures, and those are all in bite-sized chunks, meaning that I think the longest one is 12 minutes maybe, and most are right around 5 or 6 minutes. So you can certainly carve out time in your day to go through those lectures. There's 10 assignments, individual assignments, and these all pertain to the modules and the topics that we're covering. There's one final capstone project that we talked about, 3 live teaching sessions, and these are the content that are presented not by Professor Eppinger, but by the faculty that Lauren introduced earlier. And I have to tell you, these are really, really fantastic sessions. I really enjoy, hearing from Renee Gosling and Matthew. They bring their experience in a live session where you get a chance to interact with them and hear about what they do. So really, really fantastic lectures by the three of them. And then there are 3 team assignments. And these are actually, I guess if you want to count the capstone project, that's a 4th team assignment. And then we talk about these real world applications as well. So all of these pieces together give you a holistic design thinking experience where you're exposed to the content, but then you're also given the opportunity to apply it right away in a team setting. And I think that's what really makes that and the live interaction, both with your course facilitators and your faculty, really make this experience stand out amongst a lot of the online offerings that are out there today. Okay. This is just a little bit of kind of shows you what particularly happens. There's Q&A sessions with the learning facilitators. During those Q&A sessions, these are really office hours that are offered twice a week with either myself, Jerome, or Jin. And that's an opportunity to help go through that content that's presented in the lectures, to provide you additional examples that might help clarify some of the content, to review the module content, and to preview some of the assignments. So we don't just throw you out there all by yourself. We're there to kind of help and guide you through this process. Learning facilitators are, of course, always available over email to be able to answer questions. So there's always somebody there to help you with this content. And the learning facilitators also offer a few webinars as well. So you'll have an introductory webinar where you'll meet all 3 of us and we'll step you through how to get started in the course. And the question that everybody asks, which is, how do we get on a team? So we step you through all of that to get you started and moving. We talk about interview skills, how to make that transition from looking at some area that interests you and taking observations and turning that into an actionable plan for your opportunity. And then, of course, idea generation, pitching, things like this. There are some learning facilitator webinars where we are there to help you along that process as well. Here's a list of your assignments. We won't go through all of them, but you can see that there's 10 individual assignments. There's really 4 team assignments. That first one is optional, but we really encourage that because we want to make sure you get started on the right foot in identifying an opportunity. And then your final team presentation, where you have an opportunity to meet with your course facilitator one-on-one to present that information during the video chat. And then a few select people are chosen to present to Steve Eppinger, where he presents that feedback during that wrap-up webinar. I'm going to turn it over now to Lauren to talk about the certification.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, so upon completion of this course, you will receive a completion certificate from MIT's Executive Education. This is kind of an example of what that looks like, a sample, and you'll see your name and Mastering Design Thinking. And I'll explain more about our certificate program. So this is a completion certificate that you will receive digitally, but if you would advance the slide, I will go through what this may mean for you with executive education as a whole. So you will receive, as said, a certificate of completion for fulfilling the objectives of the program. This program counts towards an MIT Sloan Executive Certificate, as well as an ACE, the Advanced Certificate for Executives in Management, Innovation, and Technology. So I'm just going to quickly kind of decipher what those 2 things are. The MIT Sloan Executive Certificate is 4 courses through our executive education course program brochure. We will link up a location to show you kind of what those are. This is in specifically the Management, Innovation, and Technology track. So as long as you take 3 courses within 1 track and then 1 elective course, whichever track you wish, you will receive your MIT Sloan Executive Certificate. So this will count towards 1 of those courses. If you are doing online learning for most of your executive certificate, you will have to go in person to 1 of the 4 in order to receive your executive certificate. So, and that means here to Boston, to MIT campus, to complete 1 of the 4 courses. But 3 of those are and definitely can be online learning courses. So the ACE, the Advanced Certificate for Executives, is 25 total course days. So you will receive 3 program days after completing this program. So that will go towards your 25 total program days. And an ACE, after you finish your courses and receive your ACE certification, you will also receive a nice framed plaque of your ACE. It's definitely our highest certificate that we offer for executive education, and it's definitely an honor. So if you have questions about that, we would love to answer any questions about our ACE or executive certificate options here at MIT.
All right, thanks, Lauren. Just a few more minutes, I'll just talk about some of the final things here, and we'll get to your questions. I see a lot of questions coming by there, and I know we want to answer those, so we'll try and make this quick to make sure we have 15 minutes left to answer questions. Just some key dates, really, the start dates here and the end dates. The course starts on March 12th. That's our beginning date. And our faculty webinars are also set times. And once you start the course, you'll get a whole itinerary that kind of shows a schedule that shows where everything is, so you can mark up your calendar and make sure you reserve time to enjoy and participate in all of those events. The course ends on June 2nd. And so those are the beginning and ending dates. All right, just to kind of summarize, completion of the course, it's important to note you'll understand how to use the design thinking process. And what I like to tell people is we're really trying to get that design thinking process embedded in your head so that it's something that you will be able to implement throughout the remainder of whatever you might do, your own personal projects, your work projects as well. And that design thinking process helps you kind of generate and evaluate new product and service concepts really based on that human-centered aspect, so customer needs. Also, you'll be able to use that real when worth it framework to evaluate new product and service concepts. And that's really kind of the base of the pyramid that we use to step all this content through the course. You'll be able to implement a proven method to plan and execute a prototype. You'll be able to select a product architecture and evaluate the economics. And then lastly, you'll be able to design products and services with sustainability in mind. We have a whole module on the concept of sustainability. So, all right. I just want to tell you real quick about the participant profile. Lots of folks with lots of work experience out there. As you see on the left side of your screen, participants by years of experience, and this is years of work experience. So we get a nice range of folks, but for the most part, a lot of people who really have a lot of experience. So that's really great. And what happens is all of you share that. So when you work in your teams, you get all of that collective wisdom, which is really the advantage of being in a team-based environment as opposed to working by yourself. And as you can see as well, I love this graph on the right here, participants by industry, that 49% in the gray there, others. And the way I interpret that is that there are folks from all industries here. You can see that we have a lot from consulting, that's our biggest segment, but 49% from all over, all over the place. So there's a wide variety, and that diversity brings a lot of different thought and different ideas to your team. So that's really an asset here. All right, some testimonials, and I'll leave this up here for just a moment as we start to go through some Q&A. I will ask you to identify which one of these people is probably the engineer in here. Although it doesn't say engineer, but somebody here is really focusing on the specific content that we provide, which is fantastic. A lot of really great content in here. So with that, I would like to get to answering some questions here. I'm going to open up both the chat and the Q&A. I know there's been a lot of questions there, and program support's been answering a lot of your technical questions already. So thank you very much to technical support, program support, who always helps make these courses happen. There's a lot that happens in the background. So let's see what we got here. Okay, I think there's a question here for Isabella and Lauren, if I might turn that over to you. I can read it there, but it's in the chat. They're asking about courses expiring for the certificate tracks.
Yeah, I think I might have just typed one in, but let me answer that live also. We do ask the participants take their programs within a 4-year window. This is mostly to ensure that you're getting the most up-to-date content. We do regularly sort of update our programs with new research. That being said, if you have taken a program, say 5 or 6 years ago, and it's outside of that window, please do reach out to our registration team, and I can include that email in the chat box, and we can explore grandfathering options.
A few questions here in the Q&A, and I'm sorry if some of your stuff has been buried in the chat. Might be really good to put those questions back into the Q&A because they're preserved there until we answer them. I did see one that was up here about the link from Sashikant about the classes, the live sessions. The office hours are always 1 hour in duration, and the webinars are also an hour. The final webinar is the only one that's different at 1.5 hours, and they are interactive. So obviously, like this here, there's content to be delivered, not in the office hours so much. The office hours are there for you, but the faculty webinars are Q&A, deliver content, answer questions. So they are interactive. You do have an opportunity to ask questions of the faculty and of course of the learning facilitators. Okay, so a question here from Chris Pratap. What about if you're in roles that don't necessarily apply the methodologies being taught? Thanks for bringing this up, Chris. I think I mentioned in the chat to bring this up again. You have access to videos and materials after the course completion. That's the easy one, so I'm going to answer that first. You do have access to all the materials for 1 year after the course is completed. And I don't know that there are any roles that don't necessarily apply the methodologies being taught here. Design thinking, and I've been a designer for, gosh, closing in on 30 years now. I find that this process of thinking really pervades my entire life. Everything I do, I approach things with a design thinking mindset. And that includes interacting with my kids, because there are certain ways that we're trained to think. And it has a lot to do with open-mindedness, being curious. And these are ways that you develop innovative products. But it also involves being attentive and being aware and listening as much as possible. And these are traits that really are skill sets that can be plugged into all sorts of different problem-solving scenarios. And that's really what we're doing with design thinking, is we're approaching problems in some way and solving them. And that's the most important aspect. And I think that's really applicable to just about any role. So Chris, I don't know if that answered your question exactly. If not, please jump back in there. Kapil asked about the formatting assignments, and I see there's a bunch of open questions in the Q&A as well. The formatting assignments, we typically provide a template online, and we ask you to fill things in that template because it allows the graders to go in and look for that information very quickly. The exception, of course, is in the final capstone presentation, where we, of course, encourage you to create your own format to convey the information in that real win worth it format as best as you choose to do, in any format you choose to do. So we provide a template for you to submit your assignments. Okay, let me look over here. Abigail has a question. What's the experience like for people with accounting, FP&A background? I see their viability of the project is part of the dimensions. So lots of people come in from the financial sector. Remember that we encourage you to go out and look for opportunities in an area that interests you. Some people approach this as an opportunity to go look in different areas from their own professional world. Some people do this within their own professional world, possibly because this is financed in some way by your businesses. All of that is fine. So we've had lots of projects that are in the financial world, innovations in banking sectors. So I don't see that experience is different in any way for people in accounting than it might be for people in different sectors. Oh, by the way, I should tell you that in Q&A, if you want to open that window up, I'll try and make these questions, I'll answer them live so you can see the question there while we're going through it. All right, Jennifer asks, I noticed the methodologies are very theoretical. Will this aid training staff in design thinking? Well, I guess I wouldn't say they're theoretical. I mean, I guess everything is theoretical at some point, but essentially we're giving you, providing this this information and asking you to apply it right away. So theory turns into practice very, very quickly in this course. And that really is a hallmark of design thinking in general, and this course in particular. So certainly this is something you'll have an opportunity to experience right off the bat. It's really important in this course that you have the opportunity to experience design thinking. Hope that answered your question, Jennifer. Farhana asked, the service design part, does it cover service blueprint? Well, I'm not exactly sure what service blueprint is. So we do cover, well, let me put it this way. I'll answer your question generally. And if I haven't answered it, please feel free to follow up on that. The services are large products. That's the way, they're different products is the way we really look at it here. So designing a backpack or designing a home travel experience, the process of designing those and exploring opportunities is the same. So we step you through how to experience that and explore and develop these innovations and provide you the tools to do it. So service blueprint, we definitely encourage that you get out there and use some of the tools that are specific for services. And we do cover some of those, but in the office hours, we'll provide you more information about how to move forward with services in particular. Nicholas asked about agile methodologies. We do cover in one of the modules, module 8 or 9. So towards the end of the course, we do talk about agile as well. Okay, great. Lots of questions here. How can design, a question here from Zana, how can design thinking methods used to reshape business models where the final customers are government agencies around the world? So a great question. And we do have people, again, we have such a diversity of projects that come out of this course that we do have people that work on projects. In fact, I'm thinking of one in particular. We had a group from Canada that was working to help place service members, so people who worked in the military, into jobs in the Canadian government. And I realize that's a little bit different than this particular question, but these design thinking methodologies are really just a framework and they can be applied anywhere. So whether or not that is changing a business model, which is perfectly within the realm of design and using design thinking, and whether applied is really kind of, that's okay. Design thinking accommodates all of that. All right. I think that was Susanna who asked that question. And we just talked about that. Great questions, everybody. A quick one here from SI who says, I live in Haiti now. Do I need to go on site for this program? Really what you need is you need an internet connection. And hopefully you have a reliable internet connection that gives you the opportunity to connect for a certain amount of time to work with your colleagues that will likely be placed in different places around the world, and also to participate in the office hours and the webinars. All right. Do we get into, Tim asked if we get into measuring success. Well, not so much in this course. We do talk a little bit during the financial viability aspect of this course. Of course, we talk about whether or not something is financially viable. And so we do address the aspect of financial success. And of course, that doesn't necessarily mean making $1 million. It can also mean making sure that a service for a government agency can succeed on its own. And that may mean receiving money from grants or whatever. So financial viability doesn't mean making millions and millions of dollars. It means that you have economic viability. Great questions, everyone. Let me check the time here to make sure we have about 6 minutes left, and let's want to make sure I can get to as many of these as we can. So Chris has a question here that I'm going to turn over to Isabella or Lauren. And the question is, if we choose to complete all 4 programs, is there any support system in place for completing the required in-campus training? I don't know who might want to tackle that one.
Yeah, thanks for your question, Chris. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by support system. Our registration team is more than happy to sort of walk through creating a study plan for you. So building out which programs you're going to take in order to achieve the certificate track. And we can certainly work with you on identifying programs that might fit that learning journey. while also like being mindful of your, you know, travel constraints and what dates might work for you. In terms of support, I mean, we don't provide any like on-campus housing or anything like that. These are short-term 2-day programs, and so we encourage participants to find hotels in the area, and we were able to make recommendations. But yeah, happy to provide more information if you could just tell me a little bit more what you need about support system.
All right, thanks, Isabella. Prabhu asks, do we get a chance to solve real-world problems? Absolutely. In fact, almost all of these are real-world problems. You will have the ability, the opportunity to go out and explore an area that interests you and choose an opportunity to pursue that you see out there in the real world. So essentially everything is a real-world problem here. And of course, when you say real world, we really discourage people from trying to solve problems like all the plastic in the ocean. Not that design thinking isn't good for that, it's simply that you only have 10 weeks to complete it. And it's just kind of beyond the scope of the course to tackle a problem that large. But the learning facilitators are there to help guide you to a successful path with a successful opportunity to pursue. Okay, how many sessions are planned within a week? A question from Lydia, and I think that's specifically with webinars. There are 3 faculty webinars throughout the entire 10, 12-week course. And that includes a couple of webinars. There's 2 more that are specifically for learning facilitators. But to answer your question, the webinars are probably once a month with the faculty. You have live office hours, which are not mandatory, but really we encourage you to participate in those, are twice a week. So hopefully that answers your question. Those are not mandatory and everything is recorded. So if you miss anything, you'll have the opportunity to go back and view it, just not the opportunity to participate if you weren't there. Okay, for the theoretical part of the course, Ahmed asks, video and text, for example, is there a kind of ratio compared to assignments, just to understand how far you can work offline or independently? So I think the question really revolves around that working offline. I believe, actually, I don't think you can download the videos. So you will need some type of internet connection to be able to watch those. However, all of your work you can do offline and independently. So you certainly don't need to be connected to be doing your individual or how you participate with your teams. Okay. As we go through design thinking, Jennifer asked, is there more you can do to help us with prototyping and thereafter licensing help? We can certainly help answer some of those questions during office hours. That's, the prototyping isn't beyond the scope of the course in terms of content, but beyond the scope of the course in terms of what we ask you to do. Prototyping could be its own course, but we want to make sure you understand it. And so Professor Eppinger has dedicated an entire module to prototyping to help you understand that. And for those of you who are working in services and other things like that, we do encourage some prototyping as well. But we can certainly, during office hours and during interaction with your learning facilitators over email, we can answer your questions about licensing and about prototyping as well. Okay, great questions. I think we have time for just a few more here. At the end of the program, Farhana asks, will we continue to have access to the course material? All of that will be available for 1 year after the end of the course. And Sashikant asks, what if I am unable to apply the knowledge I gain on my organization or at work? Will that impact my certificate? I will turn that over to Lauren and Isabel, but I think, I don't know the answer to that question, whether or not that impacts your certificate.
I'm not entirely sure what the question is. As long as you're able to complete the required assignments within the program, you will be eligible for a certificate. That's not a problem. I think Brian, he might be asking if there isn't an organization or a personal project to apply the learnings to already in place, how they might work through that.
Aha. Well, we'll certainly help you. And in fact, you don't necessarily have to choose that opportunity on your own. When you work in teams, each of you will bring an idea or a concept or some opportunity of interest, and the team will decide as a group which idea they would like to pursue. So that collective mind brings a lot of information and a lot of experience and opportunities that you'll have an opportunity to you'll be able to kind of look through. So you're not working alone, which is really a great part of the course. All right. I think we're closing in on the end here, which is good because we're down to one question. Well, a few more just popped up. Do you offer on-site workshops for the corporate company? Tim, I guess there's two questions here that I'm going to make available to either Isabella or maybe program support. The other one's about financial aid. And I don't know if that's something the two of you might be able to answer.
For Tim, we do offer on-site workshops. I'm not sure if you're thinking perhaps a bulk enrollment or a custom opportunity, but if you reach out to execed-registration@mit.edu, we'd be happy to explore that with you.
And there's a question here from Suleiman about addressing innovation process and organization in large companies. And we have an entire module talking about methodologies, spiral, agile, lean, a lot of these different processes that companies use. And there's a whole module dedicated to that. So we do discuss that within the course framework. All right. And I think we're going to give this last question here to Jennifer. What if we do not wish to be localized to the same geographical area? Can we have a mixed group? Absolutely. Great question. And I will tell you that we try and help you choose people at least within your waking hour comfort zone. And what that means, you will meet with your colleagues online through the various tools that are available. And you might be working with somebody in Europe. You might be working with somebody in the Middle East. But what's really important, especially for somebody like me on the West Coast, it's hard for me to work with people in Australia because I'm sleeping when those people are awake. So we really encourage that geographic diversity, but we want to make sure that you choose a time frame in which you will be awake so that you can actually meet with these people. And we have ways to do that. And of course, once you start the course, we'll make sure you understand how to choose a group that works for you. All right. I think we're going to end it there. I do want to say, let me advance this here. I should have left it on this slide. My apologies to program support who told me to end with this slide showing here. If you have further questions that we have not been able to answer, they will pop that up, an email up there in the chat window. You can see that right now, mit@emeritus.org. If we didn't get to your questions, a lot of great questions. If we didn't manage to get to those, please send them off to that email address that's in your chat, and we can follow up and answer those questions. So I hope that we'll see you next run, starting soon. March 12th, I believe was the date. Hopefully I didn't mess that up. But thanks for joining us today. Thanks so much, Isabel and Lauren also for joining and answering all these questions and providing content. And thank you to program support for making this happen.